Joined in the studio by British High Commissioner to Namibia, Charles Moore, to shed light on the significance of this event for the African continent and the role of the British monarchy in Africa. A very good evening, High Commissioner, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Joanette.
Now, what's the significance of King Charles's coronation for Namibia and Africa as a whole?
Well, I mean, Namibia is a Commonwealth partner and a close friend. And so there is significance there, and there are many Commonwealth countries across Africa. I think the coronation itself is not actually a legal requirement for a monarch to succeed the previous monarch, but it's something that is very special for the British public, and it's also a particular religious ceremony for the Church of England. And so the significance outside of the UK is perhaps less than inside the UK. The British public love a big ceremony with lots of pageantry, and of course we're used to dreary rainy days in London. But this was a big celebration in the UK for His Majesty and Queen Camilla to be crowned.
Now, our earlier discussions offline, you mentioned that there were about 200 nations that are attending the coronation. What would you say was the representation like for African leaders at this coronation?
It's very strong, actually. Almost 200 countries, which is almost the entire world, with whom we have diplomatic relations attended. And they were invited at head of state or head of government level. And from Namibia, we were delighted that the Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Sarah Amadila, was representing Namibia. And most African countries were also represented. Yesterday there was a reception hosted by His Majesty the King for Commonwealth leaders, and that was widely advertised on social media. So we had good representation from across Africa. It's very difficult in the Abbey to see individual people. The cameras didn't go that far around, but there were something like 440 international dignitaries from almost 200 countries. So there was very good representation.
Now, what do you make of calls from South Africans for the return of the Star of Africa, the diamond on the King's crown?
I think that's also called the Cullinan diamond. Actually, the Cullinan diamond was a stone that was purchased by the government of Transvaal and given to King George VI in 1905, I think it was. And in fact, you know, there has never been a call from the South African government for the return of the stone. But, you know, we have these discussions with other governments on return of artifacts and things like that. If the South African government was to ask for the return of the diamond, then I'm sure there would be discussions on that. But there hasn't been any formal request for its return.
Now, there are those who argue that the monarchy is outdated and it's irrelevant in modern times. What's your take on these sentiments?
Well, I think those are perfectly reasonable sentiments in any democracy. You know, I think even in the UK, there is a Republican movement. There's a Republican movement in Australia, in New Zealand. And it's perfectly reasonable that people can consider that actually, instead of a monarchy, they want an elected head of state. That's an open debate in the UK, and the monarchy's popularity is regularly monitored. It's dipped at times, and it's risen at times, and today is a time when it rises, when the monarchy is more popular. But you know, there's no reason why people can't hold alternative views about whether they want the monarchy or whether they want a republic.
Now, talk to us about the relationship between Namibia and England, and also the successes between the two governments, and also as High Commissioner and the work that's been done in Namibia.
Well, Namibia was invited to join the Commonwealth at independence, and Her Majesty was very keen that Namibia becomes a Commonwealth nation. And that was really important. It created a bond between us, which we share with 55 other countries around the world, where we share modern values, values about justice, values about social issues. And you know, I think that binds us together and has bound us together for 30 years. We have a good relationship where we're trying to do more on trade we've had fairly low trade, bilateral trade over the past 20, 30 years, but actually things are coming a lot more clear now. And we have a lot more contact and exchanges than we've had before. We share a language, which we're very grateful for, and we share a parliamentary system and a democracy. We recognise that we are both democratic, safe societies, and that's something that binds us together quite closely.
Now, the British monarchy has faced numerous controversies over the years, including allegations of racism and mistreatment. Have these issues been adequately addressed, and is there anything to be done about the negative connotations historically attached to the royal house?
I think so. You know, the royal family is obviously in the spotlight 99% of the time. And just like any family, they have their ups and downs, they have things that go wrong, and when they go wrong, they're amplified. And the royal family doesn't deny that, that there have been issues which have caused controversy. But I think they have actually spent a large part of the last 2 or 3 decades becoming more modern, becoming more open, becoming more visible, more accessible. And I think that's actually something that has been welcome. Because I think if you go back 40, 50 years, I think they were seen as more aloof, more remote. And Her late Majesty did a lot to change the impression that people had about the monarchy. And I think this is a new opportunity with the coronation of His Majesty and his wife, to show that the monarchy has moved with the times, is modern, is still relevant in the UK society. So, you know, I think King Charles will be a different kind of monarch to his mother, but it's clear that the monarchy enjoys strong popularity, especially with the Prince of Wales and the Princess of Wales, and other members of the royal family. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, High Commissioner, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.